Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell, and today I'm bringing you part 1 of my 25 books to read in 2025, along with my announcement of the 2025 Romantasy Bingo. So it's a little bit misleading to say this is my 25 to read in 2025 because I'm probably going to have more like 35 or 40 books on this TBR, but part 1 I have 25 books to talk about that are on my Romantasy Bingo board, and the part 2 is going to be just more books that I really want to read in 2025. So I decided to do a really fun challenge this year. I'm super excited about it, and that is a bingo board for Romantasy. I am loving all of the fantasy romance I've been reading, and I have so much more that I want to read in 25, whether it be new releases, series continuations, or new series I really want to try out. So I decided to go ahead and make a bingo board where I can just kind of make sure everything is well-rounded. I've got a little bit of everything, and I thought it would be really fun. I was just tinkering around, and you know, I would love to see all of your bingo boards. Like, I want to see what you guys want to read for this bingo. I'm going to have it linked. I'm also going to have it on my Instagram, and I'd love to know what you guys are planning on reading. If you guys want to read Romantasy next year, definitely try out the bingo board. You can double up or triple up, whatever you want to do. If you want to do hard mode, you can do 1 book per prompt, and you can read 10+ rep books. So like LGBTQ or BIPOC rep, whatever you want to do, or BIPOC authors. If you do like 10+ of those in your bingo board, that's like hard mode, or you can just play around with it and do whatever you want. Like, I'm not really concerning myself with hard mode, but I do have a book for every single prompt here that I'm going to talk about, just because I have so many books I want to read in 2025. So let's get into this. So I'm going to go through the prompt and then what I want to read for that prompt. So the first one is enemies to lovers. I think that's very self-explanatory. Most of these prompts are very self-explanatory. For enemies to lovers, I want to read A Touch of Gold and Madness. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about this book, and it sounds so flipping good to me. It's a post-apocalyptic fantasy romance. Our heroine is sent to assassinate the prince of like the other species, I believe, and I guess humans are hunting all of them. So it sounds like there's a lot of war going on in this post-apocalyptic world, and it might be one of those things where she's sent to assassinate him, but they end up falling in love instead, which I love that trope. So both Emmy and Rachel read this and love it, so I'm definitely excited to pick it up. The next prompt is to read a sequel, and this one I'm going to be reading Glow of the Everflame. I picked up Spark of the Everflame recently and adored it, and I cannot wait to continue on in this series. It's a really popular Romantasy series right now, where there are like these descended who are fae, and our heroine is a healer. Her mother's gone missing, and she's sent to heal these descended children at the castle, and that is kind of where all hell breaks loose and her world kind of changes and is turned upside down. I don't want to say too much more, but I really loved it, and I cannot wait to continue on in the series. I think the 4th book comes out in 2025. Hopefully. And so I definitely want to continue with that one. Next I have Shifters, and for this one I chose Zodiac Academy. I just read the 6th book, so the next book for me is book 7. I really wanted to try to get some sequels on this bingo board, just because I do also have, like I said, more books I want to read in 2025. So if I try to start like 40 new series in 2025, I'm really going to be screwed. I really want to concentrate on continuing and finishing series in 2025. I ultimately failed at that in 2024, and I really want to try in 2025. So Zodiac Academy, I need to continue on, and that has Shifter Fae in that one. So I'm realizing I'm not going to be able to do full synopses for all of these, but Zodiac Academy, I'm sure you've heard of it. Next, my next prompt is Angels or Demons. You can do Angels and Demons, or just Angels or Demons. Whichever way you kind of want to read this prompt, that's fine. And for this, I have R.L. Calder and M. Sinclair's White Shoes series, Wings of Stars. This is about a woman who is an angel, but she's like a fallen angel. She doesn't have powers, so her father, I think, banishes her to the human realm somehow. She finds multiple men, and it's a White Shoes romance. So that's all I know. She's a fallen angel. I really want to try R.L. Calder. I've had her on my White Shoes TBR for a good long while now, and it's time. The next I have is ebook. So this can be on KU or just an ebook you own, maybe an ebook that you picked up from Stuff Your Kindle Day. But for this one, I have House of Beating Wings. I think this has actually been trad pubbed now. I just saw it in Barnes & Noble yesterday, but it also is still on KU, and I think this is like a Venetian-inspired fantasy romance. I don't know much about that one, but I know a lot of people have told me that I really need to pick it up. So the next one I have here is A Promise of Peridot. That is for the Who Did This to You trope. So that trope is done a lot in the first book in the series, A Dawn of Onyx. Like he says that multiple times to her, the hero does. And so I put it on here because sometimes you have to like read a book to find out, obviously, if that is a trope that's in there. But it definitely counts for the series, I would say. So I'm putting the second book on there. And that way I also get to continue on in a series. So A Dawn of Onyx is the first book in that series. And it follows our heroine in this world where each kingdom is represented by a gemstone. So she is from the kingdom of Amber, and the Onyx King is like invading Amber, and they don't know why. She ends up being taken prisoner in the Onyx Kingdom because her brother had gotten in trouble for stealing from the Onyx soldiers. And so she has these healing abilities, and the Onyx King basically takes her prisoner to be able to use these healing abilities on his soldiers. She's a prisoner, she meets another prisoner, and she wants to escape, but the castle or the fortress is kind of surrounded by this really dangerous forest. It's really good, and I'm looking forward to continuing on in that series. So the next is Flowers on the Cover. That's, I feel like, a really easy prompt. There's so many fantasy romance books that have flowers on the cover. For this one I have Embers in the Snow by Anna Carvin, and I think this is an enemies to lovers vampire fantasy romance where our heroine is kind of sent, I think, to like be in an arranged marriage with the hero, and she's super scared of him, and he's got this really bad reputation basically. And that's all I know, other than the fact that lots of people have told me I need to read this book. I've seen so many people talking about it. I haven't seen anyone give it below like a 4 stars, but most people I know have given it 5 or 4.5 stars. So I gotta read that one. And then I have a standalone, which can be kind of harder to find a standalone fantasy romance, but for this, it's a stretch because I put Slaying the Shifter Prince. Now, this is in the same world as Claire Sager's A Kiss of Iron series. I am currently reading A Kiss of Iron, and from what editing Hannah here. So, I actually DNF'd the Claire Sager series that is in the same world as this. I'm thinking for a standalone, I'm going to be reading Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And then I do think I'm still going to try out Beneath Black Sails by Claire Sager for the pirate series because it is still in the same world, but it's a different series, while the Shifter Prince actually, like, I think is kind of part of the other series. I'm not quite sure. But basically, instead of standalone, I am going to read Yumi. Okay, so the next one I have on here is Captor Captive. And for this one, I really want to read The Flame King's Captive by Chloe Chastain. So in this one, I think who the hero is supposed to be took the heroine prisoner on his dragon. So he is a dragon rider. He has a fire-breathing dragon. So it looks like our heroine, she was either married or going to be married to this dead king. But then he is unalived by Zabriel, who is a dragon rider, and he takes her captive. This also looks like an Omegaverse. So he tells her that she's an Omega. So it's Omegaverse fantasy romance. This really has me intrigued because I want to see more Omegaverse fantasy romance. Usually you see that like paranormal or monsters, but it's interesting to see it with fantasy romance. I just actually downloaded that on KU, and it's very intriguing to me. The next prompt here I have is Gothic. And for Gothic, I really want to read Anathema by Carrie Lake. Now, I started to read a different Carrie Lake book that I own, and soft DNF'd it. I do really want to pick that one back up. That was Nightshade, which is the first book in a duology. Anathema, I think, came out this year in 2024, and it's got more of the witchy Gothic in a forest type of vibe, which really intrigues me. I generally like forest settings with witches or just witchy kind of books in general. So I feel very much more intrigued by that synopsis than this one at the moment. And I think I'm really gonna like it. It's a fantasy romance. I really have good feelings about that one. Okay, we've got another dragon book on here. So the next prompt is Fae, but the book I'm gonna be reading for that is Empire of Flame and Thorns. And this is by Marion Blackwood. So our heroine is trapped in the Sealy Court in the Forest of Thorns. Forest of Thorns sounds very intriguing to me. I like the sound of that. And it looks like she's at the mercy of dragon shifters. I think that there are deadly competitions, trials in this one too, which I always love to see in fantasy romance. And I think the hero is Draven, who is the head dragon rider commander of the dragon shifter army. It looks like there's a rebellion in here too, and a lot going on. It sounds very intriguing to me, and I've heard good things. Okay, the next prompt we have here is vampires, and I've got a couple of other vampire books on this TBR, but we have to talk about Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I have not read it. Everyone else has read it. I own it. I own the little novella that you read in between them, and I own the sequel to it, Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, and I still haven't read it. Everyone and their mother has read this series, except for me, obviously, and I need to get to it. I don't know much about it other than our heroine. She is not a vampire. She's like the daughter of the vampire king, possibly, and she enters this competition, and she's up against all these vampires, so they're all much more powerful than her. She wants to win a boon from Nyaxia. I don't know if she wants to become a vampire or what, but it's intriguing. Everyone loves it. I've heard nothing but amazing things, and I need to get to it. Okay, next I have a black cover, and for this one there's so many options. Like, there's so many fantasy romances with a black cover. I have multiple literally on this list, but I'm gonna go with Nectar of the Wicked. This is by Ella Fields, and I've tried one other Ella Fields book before, A King So Cold, and I DNF'd it. I wasn't a fan, but I think that I could like her writing. I think I could like books by her, and this one I keep seeing everyone talking about. There was a new Fairy edition that came out that was really pretty, and it's supposed to be wintry and cold and atmospheric, so I still want to give it a try, and it's also dark fantasy, so I would like to try a few more dark fantasy romances. Okay, the next one I have here is Final Book. So this is the last book in a series. What I did for this one was I actually put on Goldfinch. So this is the 6th and final book in the Plated Prisoner series, though I still have not read Gold. So really what I'm wanting to do is read Gold and Goldfinch so I can finish out that series in 2025. And I think I should be able to do that no problem, unless I DNF it for some reason, because I did already soft DNF Gold. But I'm going to pick it up. I'm picking it up in January. I'm going to read the audiobook. So I'm going to listen to the audiobook, and I think that's going to help me kind of get through this beginning part of Gold, which is kind of slow, and also it's got some tropes that I'm kind of annoyed by right now, so we'll see what happens. I think the consensus is that Gold is like the weak link, but Goldfinch is pretty good. We'll see. I love the series. I want to see what happens with Oren. Next here I have a retelling, and I used this prompt to get another sequel on here, and so for this one I want to read the sequel to Bonded by Thorns. That's Woven in Gold, or no, sorry, Woven by Gold, and this is by Elizabeth Helen. Now, I'm currently reading Bonded by Thorns, but I'm really liking it. I'm actually buddy reading this with April over on my Patreon Discord. Well, it's on the Hideaway, but it's on our kind of like secret little cozy corner for my Patreon on the Hideaway. So anyway, we're doing a buddy read and having a good time with this one, and I'm enjoying Bonded by Thorns. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's Why Choose? And it does stay very true to Beauty and the Beast. Like, I really like how it was done, and I'm excited to continue on in this series. I think there's a 4th book coming out, or it just came out, and I'm not sure how many books are supposed to be in the series though. Next I have Start a Series. This is an easy one. I'm already starting a bunch of series on here anyway, but this is going to be Blood and Steel by Helen Schurer. I just know that everyone is really loving this series, and then there is a new spin-off series that's supposed to be coming out in 2025, I believe. So this is a quartet, and I've heard really good things. I know Joss has been doing a read-along on her Patreon for it that I'm kind of like behind on, and I just know a lot of people have been reading the series and loving it. I think it's called The Legends of Thesmar, but I don't know much about it. I think it's like a world where women aren't supposed to fight, but the heroine, she wants to be like a warrior. I don't know. Okay, and then the next prompt I have here is Animal Companion. I love an animal companion. And obviously, I mean, come on, I had to put Fractured Fates on here after I read that review about her pig companion. Like, she's got a little pig as her, I think it's like a mini pig maybe, and that's her pet. This is a Why Choose. It's set at an academy, so it's a school setting, Why Choose, a fantasy romance, and she's got a pet pig. And that's really all I have to know. So that is going to be Animal Companion. Next I have dragons, and obviously I have a bunch of dragons on this TBR too, but I wanted to try another White Shoes. This is by M. Sinclair, and this is called Blitz. And I don't know if these are dragon riders or dragon shifters, but it's like a newer series by her, and it looks really good, and there's dragons, and I really want to try more M. Sinclair. M. Sinclair is up there with, as an author that I really want to like read a bunch of her books, so I just thought that was a good one to pick. Another dragon book, though, is literally the next one I'm going to talk about, and that is a hyped book, and that's Fear the Flame. This is by Olivia Rose Darling. This has been hyped for a while, and now it has been picked up, and it is traditionally published. I have heard some mixed things about how much was changed with the trad pub, so I guess I won't really know the difference because I never picked up the indie pub, and it's not, I don't think, available anymore. I don't think it's on KU anymore. So I'm going to have to pick up the traditionally published version of it, but I definitely consider that hype if an indie book is picked up and traditionally published, and I do hear nothing but good things. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I know Tori's talked about it, Rachel's talked about it, lots of people have really enjoyed it. I think Justin, April, like so many people that I really love their reviews and I trust their opinions, so I want to pick that one up. For a book that is on my physical TBR, so like a book that I own. If you don't like own any books, you can do, if you have an ebook, if you want to like kind of change this one out, you can do based on that, or like maybe a library book. This is totally like maneuverable for you personally. So this one is Master of Crows by Grace Draven. I don't really know much about it. I think it involves warlocks or magicians of some sort, people with magic, but I don't know anything about it. I own it. I want to read more Grace Draven, so I figured this was a perfect opportunity to make sure I pick that one up. And then for white cover, I have been hearing a lot about Blood of Hercules. This one is a Why Choose that was traditionally published. This was on the Goodreads Choice Awards as well, and at that point, I had never heard of it. And it's a dark fantasy romance, a Why Choose book, and just read this and really loved it. So I want to try it out. I'm hearing good things about it. I just saw it in Barnes & Noble. I really wanted to pick it up. It's got a really pretty cover, like in person, because it's embossed. I'm currently reading a Claire Sager book, A Kiss of Iron, and so just like why I wanted to read The Shifter Prince, I also want to read Beneath Black Sails. So that is the book I want to read for pirates. And this is her pirate fantasy romance. I think it's a series. I owned the first book. I think I got it on like a Stuff Your Kindle day like a while back, and I love pirates. Okay, for a dark fantasy romance, I've got a few obviously on this list, but I want to read How Does It Feel? And this is by Janine O'Reilly. I think this one got picked up traditionally too. It's crazy how many indie pub books are being picked up traditionally, but this is a dark fantasy romance, and I have heard that it gives those trickster, unseelie, natural, like enchanted foresty kind of fae vibes that you kind of get from Fortuna Swarm. So it's got those under the mountain, trickster fae, dark, kind of creepy fae kind of vibes. And that's why I wanted to pick this one up. It's about a woman, I think, who is obsessed with moths and possibly obsessed with finding fae. And she follows a moth one day and enters the fae realm. Maybe is taken captive. I don't know. I just know that the vibes that have been described for that book are like on point for like what I like. So, and then I have White Shoes. I've already got other White Shoes on this list, but I need to read Dark Fae by Caroline Peckin and Susan Valente. This is set in the same world as Zodiac Academy. It's a White Shoe series. I think I probably should have started this book maybe like 1 or 2 books ago, maybe after reading the 4th Zodiac Academy or the 5th one, I'm not sure, but because there is a character that overlaps, so I really need to pick this one up. I think possibly even before I read Zodiac 7, I kind of want to check to see if what I think is correct with these characters that I apparently are kind of, there's something going on that I was unaware of. So I want to find out about that without spoiling too much. Like I can't spoil anything and really explain to you what I'm trying to say right now, but I need to know more. I need to know how they're connected for sure. And also it's White Shoes, and this is the Twisted Sisters. They write crack. They write crack. And then I actually put an alien romance on here because there's the fated mates trope. Now, a lot of these are probably fated mates, but I really want to remind myself that I need to continue on this series by Elizabeth Stevens. It's the Xveri Mates series, and this is Taken to Nobu. So the first book was Taken to Raxia, and I loved it. And I really want to continue on. Each book has its own HEA, its own couple, and it's an alien romance series that I really enjoyed. The first book, like I said, it's probably one of my favorite books of the year. It's definitely probably my favorite alien romance book of the year. I loved it. I loved it so much, and I got to continue on in the series. Elizabeth Stevens is such a good author. She's got an Omegaverse series too I kind of want to check out. That is it. Those are all the books that I want to read based on my Romantasy Bingo board. I'd love to know you guys' answers. If you do decide to fill out your answers, you can do it and share on Instagram, on my Discord. You can do your own videos. Please tag me. I want to see your guys' TBRs if you are Romantasy readers and you want to use this bingo board. I think it's kind of like a fun way to kind of make sure you're getting a little bit of everything, you know? So if you guys like this video, don't forget to click the like button and follow me if you want to on social media. All of my social media is linked down below in the description. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.
Fake a smile until I look away, but I've known you too long, it hurts to watch.